All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us here today for Civil Chat. My name is Brian, and with me today, as always, is Brian and Brian, whichever direction they may be. This is Civil Chat. This is your opportunity to ask us questions about, well, anything civil engineering related in the Autodesk realm. You can ask about Bentley products, but I'll say, I don't know. Yeah, so if you, like I said, if you haven't been here before, you ask questions, we answer them. If you don't ask questions, we sit and we talk for an hour or so.
And
just
nobody wants to hear us sit and talk.
Not about anything specific, just with each other, right? So make sure you ask lots of questions. Please put your questions in the Q&A section. Don't put them in the chat. Use the chat, heckle, talk with other folks. Absolutely do that. But if you have a question that you would like us to answer, make sure you put it in the question and answer. It just makes it so much easier to make sure that we get all the questions answered and that we don't miss any and all of that. Hey, dude, welcome to the chat.
Civil 3D is so great. You have a couple people who've joined twice.
Who do we have?
I always love looking at the names, and it's like, oh, somebody logged on to somebody's computer last time, and now you've got two.
Yep. All right. So yeah, I don't know how many of you saw me this morning or joined me this morning. I got to do the morning coffee review with the ATG crew this morning. That's, if you haven't ever been to that, it's what is it, 8:30 Central Time. They do a weekly webinar, very similar to Civil Chat, about Bluebeam Review. So if you ever have any questions and you want to ask somebody about Bluebeam Review, that's a great place to go. You can ask them here as well. I'm fairly versed in Bluebeam. I think, Brian, you are too, right?
Not at all.
No? Okay.
I use Bluebeam enough to be dangerous and to use it to my use, but I'm a one-man shop, which means I don't use it a whole lot.
Gotcha.
I use it a lot more for my business-related stuff than for like PDF CAD type documentations. Like I love creating forms and things like that, but I don't use it for a whole lot of other actual, architectural practice type stuff.
And I would probably classify myself as intermediate, not advanced. So, I mean, we use it for markups, using Studio and sharing data, and some methodologies of signing and sealing and encrypting particular plans that we submit to the state of Washington.
Gotcha. Yeah, we use it for sessions. Sessions are fantastic. We love sessions. If you're not using Bluebeam Review for sessions, you gotta. Projects, we don't use projects. Projects would be great for the contractor that's out on site, wants to make sure all of his subs have, the most recent up-to-date documents. Projects is great for that, but for what we do, projects doesn't really come into play. But sessions are great. It allows multiple people to mark up the same PDF at the same time. You just gotta love it.
Yeah, a lot of my clients put me in sessions, but for me as a one-man shop, sessions don't really do a whole lot for me.
Right.
Unfortunately, that enables them to keep marking it up until 5 minutes before it's due. So yeah, I don't always like sessions either. But hey, gotta rein in those PMs.
That's right. All right, so what I always try to start off with something new and or share something. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. And speaking of review, here, what I have here is just a PDF. So this is one of the sample files that comes with AutoCAD. It's for the Sheet Set Manager sample files. And I've just thrown a couple of markups in here. I've got, a leader saying, hey, remove note, reverse the cul-de-sac. And then I wrote with my mouse the word move. I don't know, because I was playing around with it, I wanted to see what, and if you've ever tried to write with your mouse, you know how horrible it is. And I just got to let people know that it did pick up on the fact that I wrote the word move, right? Which is just bizarre to me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to import this PDF as markups into the original drawing that this came from. So if I switch back over to CAD here, all right, so this is the drawing that I plotted out of. And on the Collaborate tab, we can do a markup import. And I noticed Brian that he just put in the Q&A have you ever talked about importing PDFs with markups? And that's what I was planning on doing. So great minds think alike, Brian. It must be your name. It's probably what it is. All right.
At
So
least he's
I'm
a
gonna
right way. At least he's a right way, Brian, and not a wrong way, Brian.
So I'm going to go to the markup import. I'm going to browse for that PDF. There it is. And when I did this the first time, it didn't come in at the correct location. I don't know if it's going to, yeah, so you can see it came in at the wrong location. So I'm just going to use the align command, and I'm just going to eyeball this. This is not something I'm going to do real. So I'm going to, let's see, we'll pick that point there, and that will align with that point there. And then we'll go with this point here. And if you're not familiar with the align command, if you decide to do the align command, make sure you pick points as far away apart as you can. It'll give you a better option here. All right, so I went ahead and I accepted that. And it brings in that PDF with the comments in it. So you can see the comments here. But right now the trace is to the front. If I send the trace to the back, or hit this little button here, it actually notifies me of the markups that were in that PDF. Right, so you can see this blue box around this note, and if I click on that blue box, I get some options. So this is just a way of helping us quickly take the markups and incorporate them into the drawing. So I can insert it as a multileader, I can insert it as mtext, or I can update some existing text. Right, so in this case, I want to insert it as a multileader. I want my multileader to go from there, say, to there, and you can notice it grays back that comment for me. And then I can come over here, do the same thing. I can click on it, and again, I get those options again. So one of the options is to update existing text. Now, all the text in this particular PDF is via an XREF, so I can't really show that. All right. And then again, my little move that I wrote here with my mouse, if I click on it, maybe I want to insert this as mtext. I'll click on insert as mtext, and it puts move in there for me. So I think this has a lot of potential to help people do their redline markups. So if you have folks that are, it's like, hey, the PM redline this PDF, throw it in your drawing, and you can, hopefully it'll help you out with it.
So my question is how much of this is going to come in as markups when people are doing Bluebeam CAD, where they've changed half of the drawing with lines in Bluebeam, and you're like, oh, am I supposed to incorporate this into my documentation or not?
Right. So
have you had a chance to try this like any Adobe markups? Or I'm assuming not because you own Bluebeam, but
right,
have you tried it with any
with Adobe? But my understanding is it doesn't look at it's PDF. Right, which has a standardized format for their comments and markups and whatnot, and it just brings that PDF into the drawing. And I think it compares what's different and new, or what's different to identify those markups. But I'm not exactly sure what the technology is behind it.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, I don't think you civil engineers are as bad as most architects, where literally they go in and start drawing walls and doors and a whole bunch of other stuff, and like how much of that is it going to see as, oh yeah, these are markups you need to take care of.
Right. Well, it'll bring it all in as markups. Unless it's I wonder what would happen if I flatten. So my understanding is you can even take a printed out document and redline it by hand, scan it into a PDF, and import it in. It'll identify those markups as well.
Interesting.
That's my understanding. That's not something I've tested, but my understanding is that would work. But you're talking about, how when you're marking up a PDF, how do you know what's a comment and what's hey, draw this, and hey, what's a delete this? One of the things that we've implemented, so I'll just bring up review here. Let's go to my toolbox. Gotta switch to a profile. We'll go with the GEI review profile here.
Yeah,
and so we've set up markups. Yeah, so we've set up markups. So a red markup is set to as do as marked. Blue is do as directed. Green is delete or remove. And then we've got some checking, a highlight and a little check box. So hey, I did that one. All right, type of a thing. So this is a tool set that we've got set up for just generic. Let me review a set of drawings and put markups in there.
Brian said it's not as robust as doing markups in design review, but who really uses design review?
Right.
And then Joel asked, and I'm assuming you could probably do this with from what you showed the align command. He's like, do markups import only work in Paperspace that you created the PDF from, or can it be imported into model space of an XREF where the comments are usually more applicable?
Oh, I don't know. Let's find out.
I'm assuming
Turn
since
that
you
off.
had the align, you could go to model space, bring it in,
Yeah.
and then rotate align, etc.
So if I markup import, I think it'll work. To align. Did it insert it at 0, 0? It did, didn't it? All right, so let's try this. Only line from there to 0, 0. Oh. To there. And then let's see, let's do the markup import. Yeah, set needed that, so we'll go ahead and move it. At least get it close. Oops. And then we can align. So let's see. That point there would go there. Actually, let's try something else. Let's just move. No, it's definitely not the right scale, is it? All right. Is it gonna let me align it again? No. Can I just let me align it? Add it there. 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 Okay. And then if we go to the back, yeah, it still works just fine. So yeah,
Nice.
it does work in model space as well. I'm not sure what would happen if you had multiple sheet PDF. I just did it with a one sheet PDF. I think it would ask you which, it would probably ask you which sheet you want to use at some point, but
Yeah, that would be interesting. I would think if you're really trying to do it, you'd be like, okay, I need to just break out the individual PDF sheets before I bring it in. Because if you're doing like a 300-page PDF, it's not like you want to be bringing that whole damn thing in, or
right.
even the headache of it.
Good point.
I mean, it's probably going to be looking at just that data, but there's still got to be some overhead data you're bringing in as well.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how to do that in review or in Acrobat, but I know in review, if you go to here, you can extract all pages. Where is it?
Or extract current page. It's third one down.
Extract pages. There it is. Right, and so you can then choose which pages you want to extract, and you can have them go into extract pages as separate files. So you need a PDF for each page, really quick out of review. And I'm sure Acrobat has something similar as well.
And then follow-up question, somewhat follow-up, still talking about PDF. Could you cover an example where you can convert a PDF to a DWG CAD drawing without changing the line weights and fonts?
Without changing the line weights? No. Let me go ahead and XREF in a PDF here real quick. I'll just use that same PDF. Go. Yeah, that's all fine. All right, so I have the PDF in here. I can then select the PDF and then I can import as objects. You can do just a piece of it. You can do the entire sheet. So I'm going to do all. Let's see what's under settings. Do S for settings. vector geometry, solid fills. So if your PDF has layers in it, when you import that into your drawing, it'll put them on layers. We can create object layers or current layer. I'm not sure what that does. What do we have under options? Okay, that's not what I was hoping for. All right, so I'll just leave it set to use PDF. I don't know if this PDF has layers in it or not. And then again, I'll just do the entire thing, and then I will detach the PDF, so because I don't want it to be in here. And what I could have done is I could have said, hey, I just want the line work and ignored the title block, for example. That would have been a great time to use the, instead of the entire thing.
But for the whole line weight issue, you could then attempt to figure out the PDF layers and associate those layers accordingly.
Yeah, and so you can see if I do a layer isolate on here, all right, you can see just about everything is on the same layer in this PDF. I'd assume they now have yeah, they've got the color assigned based off of the object rather than a layer. So if you're using CTB, you just make sure they're using the right layer, and then it would have the right line type, right? Or the line weight at least. If you're using STB files, then you'd have to go make sure that move things onto correct layers and applying the right plot style to them.
My question is, who looks at things with line weights anymore anyway? Bluebeam and Adobe both have a disable line weights. I don't ever have line weights turned on in any program I work on anymore.
That's a good point.
I work with architects who are very, very, very concerned about the widths of line weights, and I'm like, yeah, in PDF I just put disable line weights. Don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully that helps, Sean. Yeah, as far as changing the line weights, it's if the PDF has layers, it'll put it on layers, and you can assign the color or the plot style via the layers. That's the best I have for that. So
Sean also asked another question, and it just says Brian : so I guess that means I get to ask a question because it's spelled with an I, not a Y, so it's not meant for the other Brian. So
I think he might have accidentally hit enter, but I'm not certain on that.
I'm assuming he accidentally hit enter too. So his question, I believe, was going to be, would you please cover an example of grading optimization? We would like to know when to use that.
Okay, so grading optimization is an area that I haven't spent a whole lot of time on. Have you, Brian, worked on grading optimization much at all?
The self-optimization, yes, where I do it myself and look at it and say, no, that's good, and yes, that's bad. What I've seen for demonstrations, it's more of along the lines of you give it specific criteria, and it'll try its best to think for you. I'm not a big ChatGPT type of person. I will not. I'm not going to allow the computer to do the thinking for me. That's just, maybe I'm just old school. And I'm sure it could help try to balance particular things, but it's pretty particular from what I've seen. Right. It's coming along, but I don't think it's where people are expecting an easy button, and it's just not.
No, I totally agree with that. I haven't had a whole lot of experience with myself either. Yeah. But and for the projects that we do here at GEI, it doesn't really lend itself to that. Yeah. If you're doing like a commercial subdivision where you got like the big box store with the parking lot and the building pads around and the driveways through and the retaining walls with the pond, if you're doing that sort of work, I can see it being beneficial. The way I would approach it is it would get me to maybe 80%. Put in the parameters, see what it does. It'll try to balance the cut and fill, and it's like, okay, that's a good place for me to now start.
Yeah, and to be honest, Brian, it's actually even more modular than that. It doesn't lend itself very well to multifaceted portions of what you just described, of doing a parking lot with a building pad and then a pond. It's not going to do all those at one time. It's almost like you've got to modulate it such that you separate the pond from the parking from the building. Where
Gotcha.
it really lends, where I've seen it lend itself is trash piles, mitigating multiple quantitative fill areas of a site where you're doing how do I describe this best? Like mining and reclamation,
Okay.
or multiple storages or stage storages for fill sites, such as trash. I mean, we
So
used a
like
lot
a
of that.
landfill or a
Yep,
tailings dam type of a thing?
exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Tailings dam, great example. Yes, for a tailings dam, because then what that'll do is it'll allow it to sit there and play back and forth with what it's going with the calculations to get you the volumes that you're looking for.
Gotcha.
So
I
it's
hadn't
really
even considered it
beneficial
for
there.
that.
Yeah, it's really beneficial for that because it does all that stuff in the cloud. And so it's just sitting there playing around in the cloud while you're doing your work, kind of like the new sheet set manager, which I saw a question for the web-based sheet set manager. It's a lot of this is now becoming cloud-based. It works best if you've got everything in ACC. Matter of fact, I think it only works with ACC.
I
But
think you're
anyways,
right
yeah,
on that.
yeah. But yeah, and that'll bleed into that question later, and I can address that more so there.
So Brian asked, did they name it wrong? Should it be called grading GPT?
Well, if you wanted to talk to you, I'm sure. Yeah, there we could hold a conversation with you.
So
I'm
Sean,
liking
I
this
hope
new
that
drawing.
answers that question. He did have a follow-up while we were talking about that one to the PDF. Could you show the example of bringing that PDF in with the fonts? So what you have on your screen where you imported
Yeah.
the
So,
objects, what did the fonts do?
ooh, not lovely. So this was probably an SHX font, which is
Yeah.
not technically a font. It's lines, right? That's probably why these came in as lines in CAD. What did it do with my markups? It didn't bring the markups in.
Yeah.
What about that
Let
note
me try it
there?
real quick.
Is anybody actively trying to move away from the AutoCAD SHX fonts anymore? Only because it's so much. There's just so much more control in the TrueType.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody that's using SHX fonts. All right,
Yeah.
we're not using them, that's for sure. So let's see. Let me go bring in a title block here real quick.
Oh, I will tell you there are quite a few civil engineers out there still using them because whenever I'm with a client, we bring in a DWG, almost every single one of them has SHX fonts on them.
Well, another reason we had to move away from it is because it doesn't play well whenever going back and forth with other programs that are window-based programs, much like
Absolutely.
Revit. Revit does not. It's like, what's an SHX? And on top of that, when it does bring it brings it in not with the tone that you can give it within Civil 3D or AutoCAD. It's much lighter and
Yep.
very faint.
So just want to point out something real quick. If you ever get this message after you plot out of AutoCAD, this document contains untitled viewports. Don't hit do not show this message again. Just hit yes. So what happens is if your sheet has a viewport, it will automatically create a view in review. So if I say no to this, I can come over to my views. Where are my views? Show, what do they look like? Been a while since I've done this. It's not a space, is it? No, it's a measurement. Yeah, so if I go to measurements, viewports, you can see it creates this untitled viewport. All right, and so if I select it, you can see there's the viewport. And this is geared for, hey, I got this part of my drawing, I want it that's at a 1:40 scale. This part of my drawing is a 1:80 scale. So when I'm doing measurements in the different parts of the sheet, I can get the correct measurements off of them. And so whenever you see that, just delete it. It's useless. I don't know why AutoCAD creates it. It's just annoying. Okay, so anyways, here's my font test.
Thanks for that, because I always wondered why I said you have unused viewports. What do you want to do with them?
Yeah.
Every time I open up these. Okay, cool. Thanks. Now I know.
Is that a possibility where it's set up in your settings that it'll automatically create a viewport whenever you create a new layout? And if you disable that function,
so
if you disable that function, you won't get that.
What do you mean?
Perspective of removing that option within your options to create to auto create the viewport in there, so that way it won't keep giving you that data.
Well, if we come back here, you can see. Is it gonna undo? Apparently, it doesn't undo. All right, so
Very
let me create this again. So plot again, because I had saved it. Go ahead and override it. I'll just create a new one. Oh, I hit yes. God damn it.
At least you didn't hit all and never show this again.
Right.
Yeah, with the raise of hands, how many do that? Just arbitrarily, just don't show this again to me. It's like with
Yeah.
missing SHX files for my line types or missing font files. It looks like
Yeah.
it still has it.
So I think I was wrong. It doesn't seem to be incorporated with the viewport, right? So you can see it goes right up to the paper's edge, whereas in my drawing, my viewport doesn't go up to the paper's edge. So I don't think now I'm changing my mind on this. I don't think it is the viewport. I think it's the sheet that creates it. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if Jason Artley is still on or not. Maybe he knows. He's the MCR guy. But anyways, yeah, just always delete those. They're silly. All right. Okay. So let me go ahead and import this into a new drawing here. All right, we'll go ahead and XREF, attach PDF. And that was this one here. And this one does indeed have fonts in it. And so now if we import as objects, I'll just do all, I will detach. And this is indeed a piece of text with the font. Now, I don't think it probably won't have the same text style. Yeah, so you can see it creates a text style called PDF Arial Italic MT. And so, and this one's PDF Arial Italic MT. This one is...
So that way it doesn't accidentally overwrite any fonts that you may already have in your drawing, which is grand.
It didn't work on this piece of text.
It's italicized. Ooh, maybe it doesn't realize an italicized or...
Could be.
Yeah.
But it seems to be working to a point with the fonts. So again, if it's a TrueType font, not an SHX font.
Yeah. And also if the PDF was generated via vector as well, if it's scanned as an image, you may have a bigger problem there too.
Right. Yeah, you'd have to do the OCR on it.
Yeah.
You probably want to use Acrobat for that OCR, because if I remember correctly, the Acrobat OCR actually places the image of the text with the text, whereas Review just places an invisible piece of text on top of the image. So,
but do you have the CAD Extreme version of Bluebeam? I know that
I do have Extreme.
Ooh, you are Extreme.
So as far as OCR goes, in Review 21, which is the one that's, if you were to buy Review now, you would get Review 21. OCR is available in all of the versions.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, just other things aren't available in all the versions. So they used to be available. So
and
that's how they get you.
That's right.
You guys had a lot of comments coming up on the TrueType fonts. John says he prefers SHX for plan details because there's too much management with TrueType fonts. I'll let you all take that up with John.
Yeah, not for sure what kind of management he's talking about, but hey, everybody's got their own opinion, right?
So we had I have a couple follow-ups to the whole PDF thing. So I think this is going to be called Bluebeam. Bluebeam chat. We can't call it chat because that's civil chat. We'll come up with a topic for it. But anyway, Bluebeam markups. Are there any tips for markup summary?
Markup summary. Oh, I love markup summaries. Switch back over to Review. So when you're doing markups, right, you want to make sure that you're using your markups off of a tool chest. Don't use them off of the toolbar. Don't use them out of the ribbon. The only time you should use the markup off the toolbar or off of the menu is when you're creating a markup to add it to a tool chest. All right, so just put them on tool chest, and then you want to make sure. So if I select this and I go to my properties, come on, make sure you use a subject. subjects will make your life so much easier for your markups, because after I put markups in, so I'll put this one in, and I'll put this one in, and I'll put this one in. So down at your markup list now, you can sort based off of the subject. So I can see all of my do as marked grouped together, all of my do as directed grouped together, and all my do as or delete or removed mark grouped together. They just make life a heck of a lot easier. That's probably my biggest tip for using markups is do them off of the toolbox and apply subjects to them. Apply meaningful subjects to them, right? So if we switch back to the standard profile, I think the review one has pretty good. All right, so if I put this one in, they don't have a pen, they just have a highlight. Okay, well, highlight this here then. All right. So you can see it's marked up as architect. So I can group all my architects together. Another thing, if you're using review and you're like, doing red lines, use your statuses. Statuses, right? So, I've completed this one, so I just changed the status for this to completed. And then what I like to do is I will then filter my markup list for things that aren't completed. So I'll come over here to filter list. Now you have to complete one, you have to set a status first before you can hide it. All right, so I'm going to come over here to filter list. I will then click at the top of the column here, and I'm going to do a custom filter here. And I'm going to set my filtering rule to does not equal. And then this is going to show all the statuses that I've applied in this document so far. And so far, the only one has been completed. And then I will apply that. And you can see that is no longer shown in the markup list down below here. And it's grayed out in the drawing. So if I come over here to this architect one and I change the status of this to completed, you can see it grays out and it's no longer in the list. So I can go through my list and make sure I've completed everything without missing something, right? You can also select the markup in the drawing, right click, set status. You can do it here as well without having to go to the markup list. Another great thing you can do is you can create custom columns that assign things to people, right? So let me go ahead and turn off the filtering here. So I'll go over here to my columns. I'm going to manage the columns. Under custom columns, I'm going to create a new one, and I will call it assign to. If you know, hey, I got 4 people on this team, I know it's always going to be one of those 4 people, I would recommend making this a choice and then adding those 4 people. All right, so this will be Mackie. All right, this one will be Haley, and this one will be Tomasi. All right. And now I can come in here and I can assign these 2 specific people. So Mackie really needs to do most of these. So I'm going to assign most of these to him, and then I'm going to assign one to Tomasi. Right?
Thanks, Ray.
Now, the nice thing about this is, I've got hundreds and hundreds of markups in here, and I've assigned them to certain people. I can then create a summary. So I can come up here to summary, do a PDF summary, and I can filter the list here. So I'll come over here to filter and sort. If I scroll down, I get the assigned to, and I just want to see the ones that are assigned to Mackie here. All right. And then under the output, make sure this is set to PDF and append and hyperlink to current PDF. I'll go ahead and select OK. And what this has done is this, if I come over here to my thumbnails, you can see it's created a new sheet in the PDF with just the markups that are assigned to Brian, to Tomasi. I mean, to Mackie. Sorry, I'm getting confused here. And the nice thing about this is these are hyperlinks. So I can click on that and it will take me to that markup in the document. Now, I don't want this sheet to be in my set of drawings. And so I can then extract those pages. All right, so I say, hey, I want to extract pages 73 through 76 because those are the ones with the comments. And then you want to make sure you update the hyperlinks to relative paths. And I will delete pages after extracting. All right, I'll just throw it in that same one. I'll call this one the Mackie comments. And now I have a document that is just the comments and then a drawing that is the markups. And I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'll go ahead and save it as well. And these are still hyperlinks, so that if I click on this, it will then open up that document and take me to that markup.
I love how fast demo documents open, because in reality, that's going to be a 4-minute open because it's 600 sheets and 5,000 markups. And
Right.
So Dakota has a follow-up on that. Assign, is that only for this plan set, or can you export that for other PDFs? So if you set up that assign to column, can you import, export that to other documents?
That's a great question. I think if I go into my columns, manage columns, if I choose that, you can save that to the profile.
Or you can export and import right there.
You can export and import, but it would be better to save to the profile. So every time I use this specific profile, this is going to be a column for that available to me. Right? In the profiles, you know, these were the profiles up here, right? So I can save it to that profile. So anytime I'm using that, it's going to show up assigned here. Because right now, this is just saved in just this one drawing, or this one document.
And Joel has a follow-up question on PDFs. Can Bluebeam viewports handle profile exaggeration?
Yeah. Where's the question?
Towards the bottom.
I think I lost you. What was the question again?
Can Bluebeam exports, sorry, can Bluebeam viewports handle profile exaggeration?
Yep, and that's where that viewport that we were talking about, right? So if I go to my markup list here, my viewports, I'm gonna go ahead and add a new viewport. And this is the viewport that represents my planet profile. All right, so I'm set this. Oh. Headset just died. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us is the bigger question. We can hear you. Still hear you.
Yeah, so maybe somebody put in chat really quick that we can hear.
There you go.
Okay, now I can hear you. Sorry, my wireless headset just died on me. Okay, so let's see. We'll set this to 1 inch equals 10 feet. Precision to the what? Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna ignore that. I'll apply that, and so you can see I've got this viewport now assigned here. And if I come in, let's see, where is that? There it is. I can set a separate Y scale. All right, so my horizontal is 1 inch equals 10, and I can set this to 1 inch equals 5, or, you know, custom 1 inch equals, you know, 5 feet. All right, so if I draw a circle in here, oops, that's not what I wanted. Is it Alt? It's Alt. There we go. All right, and then if I measure the height of it, so we'll come over here to my measurements, we'll do dimension. I'll just eyeball this from there to there. You can see that's 3 feet 6. But if I go from here to here, you can see that's 5'7", and I did a really bad job of getting the center. Right?
That's
so
okay.
About
we
twice,
got it.
Right? You get the idea. So yes, you can do that. You just need to make sure that you, when you go into your viewport, that you toggle on the separate Y scale, or separate Y scale. Is it separate or separate? I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Rebecca had a follow-up to your custom column family. She says, but the custom column can only be used by the person creating a comment when in a session. No one else can assign. So if you're in a studio session, she's saying no one else can use the assign to column but you.
Right. Yes. So your comment is your comment in the session. I think you can change the status of somebody else's comment in a session. I'm not positive on that one, but you can't edit somebody else's comment. So you would have to do the one assigned to. However, once the session is finalized and you download that PDF, then it's your PDF and you can do whatever it is you want to it. But while you're in a session, that is true. The other thing is you also have to have the column in the PDF before you upload it to the session. So once the PDF is in the session, you can't add additional columns to that PDF.
That's a pretty big point to make.
Yeah.
And then Brian has a good follow-up. Would be the PDF auto publish options when you close the drawing. This is
Good.
Q&A.
Is as far as like the creating the viewports? Is that what you're trying to get to, Brian? I'm not sure on the question. Because I know we don't PDF auto publish on our systems.
I don't think it was a. I don't think it was a. It was more of a comment. Hey, FYI, you do have the auto publish.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's not something that we do.
So every time you close the CAD file, it publishes it.
Yeah.
That just sounds horrible to me. Seems weird to me.
I can see the draw to it. You know, that way the project manager who doesn't like CAD can go check the progress of the drawings anytime they want to, just by simply opening up the PDF. But if you're using the ACC, the Autodesk Construction Cloud, they can do that anyways by opening up the drawing or the Revit model.
Well, the thing for me is I might be in a file just to check it, see what's going on, and then close it. Now it's publishing a file that didn't change.
Yeah,
So
it might
I
do
might
that. I
get
don't know.
19 publishes and literally the file hasn't changed just because I got in there.
And you know, that's not something I've ever really looked into. Do you guys use that at all, Brian? The auto publish to PDF?
No, we do not. First and foremost, it's kind of like a versioning. If you need to maintain versioning, that is a big no-no.
Yeah.
You want to, especially when you're talking ISO 9000 or any rendition of that, they capitalize on the versioning, and if you start playing around with that, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble.
I don't think it would be used necessarily for the deliverables. Just like I said, for the project manager to come in and see what the current state of the drawing is where I would see it being used.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I would never
people...
want to auto publish for, you know, the deliverables. No way.
Then I can see just people opening up VGs and closing them, so it looks like they're doing work, and their manager's like, "Man, this guy was in 150 drawings today. Look at all the PDFs he created."
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
back to the question that Thomas hinted on earlier. Do you have any experience with the new web sheet set manager? I don't have any experience with it. Just wondering if you have any of you taken it on?
I'm gonna let Brian answer this one. You have more experience with ACC than I do.
The answer is yes, and the answer is it's not 100% up with what the sheet set manager can currently do. It's basically, for us, it's one step away from going mainstream. We capitalize on the page setup override in a major way. It helps us standardize how things are plotted and how they're plotting out properly. We don't leave it up to just the published PDF, because in your sheet set manager you got various ways to publish, and one of them is to publish PDF. The web-based sheet set manager is fantastic in the fact that it's got all that, with the exception of the page setup override. But what I have done testing on with is I have taken a project that we used an old style sheet set manager, meaning free web-based sheet set manager, was able to open it up, made sure that all of the templates and such and STBs/CTB files were located in the ACC docs, and it published just fine. It actually published, let's see if I did a 50-page plan set, published it using the old sheet set manager method with SSM detect turned off. Published that from ACC docs, took 19 minutes. I used the web-based and published it. It took 10 minutes. And it does not use your computer to publish. It publishes it in the cloud. And it'll publish it directly to the cloud. So yeah, I haven't tried this yet. However, I do know that you can get onto the web-based sheet set manager from your phone, and you can publish from your phone. So as you're on your way to the office or on your way to their client meeting, they can hit the publish button and it'll publish whatever it needs to publish. And it'll put it in a predetermined location, or you can change it on the fly.
Nice.
So Chris has a follow-up question. If all of our sheets have a named page setup, Does it still use those named page setups?
That it does, and that's how I use it, and that's how I tested it. So yeah, if you if you have people that have the name page set up and it's set to the default page setup properly,
So you're talking
it'll
about
publish.
this up here, right?
No, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. If it's preset, it'll publish just like as if you were to publish to PDF. You just say publish to PDF and it'll go into the drawing, it'll open up the drawing, and it'll publish whatever default your setup layout you have. And it does it quite well. And like I said, it did it in like almost half the time.
Yeah, there's some things in the Revit side of the world when they first came out with the whole BIM 360 crap that we realized that things they're doing behind the scenes are way faster in the BIM 360 world than things that if you have it natively on your C drive. And it's just bizarre to me that sometimes things in the cloud can be faster when literally it might be on your own computer.
Well,
That's wild.
I mean, if you think about it, all the data is actually in the cloud and it's being brought down to your computer, even when you're doing collaboration for Revit.
No, understood. But we tested it just with the file being on your C drive and testing with the file being in the cloud. It was like the way it says, oh, on my C drive, I've got to look at the entire file. But if it's in the cloud, I only want to look at specific bits that I need to look at, so I'll work faster.
Yeah.
Very, very bizarre to me.
They're doing a lot of cool things in the cloud and really making things speeding up right now.
Yeah, my goal for next year is to see how we can use the like the ACC and the collaboration for Civil 3D here at GEI. So that's on my list of things to do at the start of the new year. Right now, I'm dealing with licenses out the wazoo. It's no fun. We are still on named or a network license here, so we haven't made the switch to named users yet.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but yeah, I'm gonna laugh.
Yeah. Just before the cutoff date, we had a 3-year purchase on our network license. So we are like one of the last companies that still are using the network licenses. So we got a mix because we can't buy any more new network licenses. So when we need new licenses, they have to be named users.
So has anyone planned? Sorry, Rebecca has a question. Has anyone played with older versions of Civil 3D 2022 or older with Windows 11?
I haven't. I just upgraded to Windows 11 just a few months ago. So I've only used 23 and 24 on Windows 11. I think we got to open this one up to everybody. Has anybody used an older version of Civil 3D on Windows 11?
Chris says
Jason,
he's used
why? Why would you do that?
Chris says he's used 2020 all the way up to 24, and they all seem fine.
Yeah.
So Rebecca,
I'm not seeing anything with it, but just get up to the latest version. Come on.
A couple people are still on 21, so looks like it's all okay.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't imagine there'd be a whole lot of issues with it, but you never know.
That is a good point. Chris brings up. Chris says they were all pre-installed prior to upgrading to Windows 11, so not sure if that makes a difference or not.
Well, my other question is there a particular reason to stay back behind other than just getting IT to be able to update your systems?
You mean other than the fact you have to deal with people? And the people like, no, I don't want a new one. I'm used to this one.
I guess that would be a good way of stating it.
we had a project, and it's not something I probably should have looked into it more, but we had to do, it was Civil 3D 2020, or is it 21? And it was a ProjectWise thing. So we were working on a ProjectWise project, and they said that you had to use this older version of Civil 3D to be able to work correctly with ProjectWise. And I just don't know ProjectWise enough to be able to say, oh yeah, that's true, or oh no, you should, the current version works just fine. So we had it installed on those people's machines that they needed to integrate with ProjectWise.
Yeah, I think that's why I dislike ProjectWise so much, and I'm so happy that ACC is finally here, and it's definitely mainstream for us. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, we one of our offices is working on a project that has ProjectWise, and they're like,
why is this not working? And it's probably because, well, probably you don't know how to use ProjectWise is probably the answer, but I can't help them because I've never used ProjectWise.
Well, ProjectWise, I mean, ACC and ProjectWise do react a lot alike, except one's a Bentley product and the other's an Autodesk product.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the people who set up ProjectWise who are clueless on how to set it up, and it affects all the people downstream.
Well, in this one, I think the case is we were doing the project and then they said, oh, you need to integrate it into ProjectWise. So the project wasn't started in ProjectWise, I think is part of the problem. Oh.
So one final question before we get to the final question, someone had pointed on there, have you checked out the following? And he sent a link in there, and it's about the Civil 3D data exchange. So it's in beta. So Civil 3D data exchange connector is now in beta. I don't know if you guys have looked into this. I've looked at this a little bit on the Revit side of things, and what they're hoping to get out of this is seeming really cool.
Oh yeah, it's it's going to be awesome. I have not
looked into this yet.
Basically, anybody raise your hand if you remember LDD. And I'm not being, I mean, yeah, if you remember LDD, the data was housed inside of Microsoft Access, right?
Right.
And the downfall was that Microsoft Access was 32-bit. So going into Windows 7 back in the day, that went from 32-bit to 64-bit. So, but the nice thing was it housed the data in one location. Everybody could draw from it. Right now, our data is housed in a drawing specific, not in a cloud. They are going to this. What's being shared on screen is they're going to go more now granular. So the data, like your surface data, all the points and everything like that, is going to be in the cloud. And when you need it, you say, "Hey, bring it down. I'll make some changes," and then it'll make the change, and then it'll reload it up into the cloud. Your drawing that's attached to it still remains updated, and any drawing that you pull to it remains updated. So it's like a data shortcut, but it's much more powerful because you can have it in your drawings. It'll look to the location for that updated information whenever you open the drawing, and it will give you that updated information without having to go to a drawing that could be 200 megs because you got 50 surfaces in it, all stacking off each other.
It's just going to just that data.
It's just going to that little bit of data, which is absolutely what we've been looking for because, as we're going to mobile methods of working, you're having to look at drawings now for your data to be pulled across. Now you won't have to, and it's much more granular. So it'll be much easier. However, the downside to this, guys, is you have to be on ACC.
Yeah. The other thing on this too, where they're trying to do it, and they're already doing this more in the Revit world, is they actually have a plugin for Rhino now too, where that data that you're looking at, and it could be your points from Civil 3D, we can use in Rhino to generate a surface. You update those points in Civil 3D, the person working in Rhino gets the surface updated as well.
And this is where Tandem's going to be infinitely awesome. It's just going to, now we're going to be able to cross share from Revit to Civil to other to Rhino to Esri to all different various platforms. It's just going to open up a new world.
And I'm giving Autodesk kudos on this. We don't always give Autodesk a lot of kudos on this, but they are working very closely with Rhino to start making some of these connectors between, and I'm assuming they're going to probably start working with Bentley on some of this stuff too. So where that data inside of there goes literally across to everybody else. And it's just, the one aspect that I was looking at it, even with the Microsoft Power Automate, is you be able to send emails to specific people. Oh, we went and updated this corridor. This corridor this person needs to get emailed to know about it. Not the entire team, just these people. And you don't have to remember to go email them. They just have to know that, oh, this data changed. Now send an email to these people if this data changes. So yeah, I mean, the one thing I've been kind of excited about, and I think this is the one place where I've bitched about Autodesk for much. I always talk about interoperability. I'm like, cool, your own programs aren't interoperable. Let's not even talk about outside programs, but now they are getting there.
Right.
So last question, 5 minutes left. Hopefully I gave you enough time for this last question. Is there... I started looking at the XML file, but have not found the correct one.
Parts list doesn't have an XML file that I know of. So I think we might have a difference in terminology here. So if I go to tool space settings, pipe network, parts list, right? Here's the parts list. If I go edit this, so this is something that's saved in the drawing. It's not referencing anything external. The list of the pipes. And so if you're referring to changing the order of this, I don't know. So let's try that. Let me create a new parts list here. We'll go ahead and add a part family. We'll do
Parts
PVC
list,
pipe.
right
Sure.
click, sort. Chris asked, can you just right click and say sort?
I don't know. And we'll add a part size. We'll go ahead and we won't do them all. We'll do an 8-inch. And then we'll do a 4-inch. And oh no, the 4 is after the 8. I don't see any options to sort. Can't drag and drop. I don't think there is a way to do it. At least not that I can tell. Refresh. Sure, refresh doesn't do anything. Yeah, I don't think there is.
Jason says it has to be done on the back end by editing the XML.
What XML controls the parts list, though? Yeah, Corey, that was my understanding. Is I would have to remove the 8-inch and then add the 8-inch back in to get it to change the order. All right. Now, if we're talking this list, that's where an XML comes into play. Right. So I, say, hey, I wanted to add in a 9-inch pipe. Well, that's going to show up at the bottom of the list here. Right. So that's through your parts, the part builder. Right. And so that you can change. So let me show that, because I think that's might be where the XML that people are thinking about is.
Yeah, and that's what Corey's saying, correct. And Nathan said no, the previous parts list which you were trying to reorder. So you delete it all and you start over.
Right. But if you want to change, yeah, like I said, if you want to change, if you need to change this, so I'm adding a new size to a part and I want to do that, that's going to be in that XML file. So if I go to comment, and pipes catalogs, US Imperial. No, that's not where I put it. It's been a while since I've been in here. Let's just go with circular pipes. All right, so here's the XML file. So I'm just going to go right click on it, edit with Notepad++. Close out all this other stuff that y'all don't need to see. There we go. And so if I come down here, you can see here's the rows. So this is where you would have to reorder these, right? So you would have row ID equals R19, and then whatever the value is. And so you could reorder this XML file to get them in the correct order, right? So yeah, so here's where it would come in, right? R19 would be, 9. And so everything after 9, after the 8-inch, I'd have to add one. So this would be row 6, row 7, row 8, etc. And then to make this row 6 and then copy and paste that up top there. I think that's the XML file people were thinking about, but if anybody knows of an XML file for the actual parts list itself for this, I would love to think of it. Yeah, that's what I figured, Jason. But I have no idea of a way to reorder these after it's already been created. Without
there's things like this that just always dumbfound me, that you can't click at like a column header to reorganize them, or
right,
whatever.
or just drag and drop. I just want to take this. I want to drag it down below, reorder it.
There's certain things in some programs that I'm just like, really, Really.
It's like point groups, right? It's like, hey, I want to reorder these. You'd think you'd be able to take and drag this and reorder it, but no, you can't do that either.
So you just need to somehow find a way to
Brian,
export that out.
nice.
Find a
Brian
way to
says, I was
export
going
that
to
out
ask
in
part
Dynamo
builder
to-
questions, but work stress is a real thing. I love it, Brian. That's awesome.
So Nathan, unfortunately, no
yeah,
answer.
sometimes the answer is no, you can't. It's a limitation of the
sometimes the
software.
answer is, what is it? The Autodesk wish list?
Yeah. It's a feature request.
Feature request. All right. And with that, we're at the bottom of the hour.
Great. Thanks everybody for showing up. Tell your friends, tell your family, have them join us next week. This was a great crew. We had quite a few folks here. So thank you everybody for coming, and we'll see y'all next month. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Are we alone yet?
Stop the recording.